Good day and welcome to Cooking Keto Southern Style with Randy. I'm in the kitchen today with my cornbread recipe that I made with the Turnip Greens and Cornbread show, and we're going to actually bake chicken and dressing. This was a challenge request from our cousin Cindy in Northport, Alabama. She wanted to know what I was going to do for Thanksgiving with dressing. In the South, we make cornbread dressing. It's not stuffing. I've never seen anybody in my family, any side of my family, stuff a turkey. We always had chicken and dressing. It varies from family to family. Some people do, if you're along the coastline, you may do oyster dressing instead of chicken and dressing, but I just grew up doing chicken and dressing. My two grandmothers' dressings were different from each other, although they tasted pretty much the same, along with my mother-in-law's is a little different. And so over the years, I've developed my own kind of a combination of those three. My mother's mother, hers was a little more bready, less sage. My grandmother Palmer's was my dad's side. Hers had a lot more sage in it, and then my mother-in-law's is a little, well, is quite a bit more moist than what I grew up with and what I like. Had taken those and developed my own recipe. So today I'm going to take the cornbread dressing that I made with the almond flour and that one-on-one cornbread flavoring and try to make a chicken and dressing. There are two additional recipes in this video. One is the cream of chicken soup that I use in my chicken dressing, which that comes from my mother-in-law. My grandmothers, neither one of them, I don't ever remember them putting cream of chicken in there. So I've done that, it just enhanced the flavor. So I'm making keto cream of chicken soup back here on the stove right now, along with, I've got in the big pot, a whole chicken simmering that I've got to actually debone here in just a minute. And then what is chicken and dressing at Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, whenever your family makes it, without cranberry sauce? Now, to make cranberry sauce would be very high in carbohydrates. We're going to first talk about the cranberry sauce. So I'm going to set that up right now. So I've already made up a batch of the cranberry sauce, and it's in the refrigerator chilling because it uses a combination of pectin and gelatin. Now I've come up with this recipe. I have not tasted it yet, so it will be a surprise at the end. But to get a cranberry sauce, so you can see down here on the thing, this is the traditional cranberry sauce, and we like the jellied cranberry sauce in my house. I have never gone and bought real cranberries and made cranberry sauce, or even got the kind that actually has the pieces of cranberry in it. This is what I grew up eating. My kids like, usually at Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'll go through about 3 cans of that for the meal. That is just as much part of the chicken and dressing as the chicken or the cornbread is. So the cranberry sauce is really important. So that's the reason I wanted to try to come up with a cranberry sauce. So let me slide the pot. I have 1 cup of diet cranberry juice. And there is 1 gram of sugar in here, and as you can see let's see, there is 2 total carbohydrates in here, and 1 is from sugar. There's only 5 calories. So by the time I did this, it made up just a little over a cup, because we're going to use a cup and a splash just for evaporation purposes. So to start with, it's 1 cup and a splash of cranberry juice, 1 envelope of unflavored, unsweetened gelatin mix, and then this is real fruit pectin, liquid pectin. You can find this in the canning section of the grocery store or Walmart or any place that sells the canning stuff. So we're going to put in the pot almost all of this cranberry juice, but we're going to leave some in the bottom because we're going to dissolve the gelatin in that in just a second. And we're going to put the splash, and I mean a splash is probably like a shot, like an extra ounce maybe. And we're going to put this back here on the stove and bring it up to a boil. So now I'm going to take the remaining liquid from the cranberry juice, and we're going to add in the gelatin, the 1 envelope of gelatin, and dissolve it. So put it in there, and we're gonna just mix this up really well and get it incorporated well. I did this backwards earlier. I actually put the gelatin and the pectin into a bowl and poured the hot liquid over it, and you can end up with the gelatin clumping. So I read the instructions, and as you can see, actually it's already thickening up. Now to this mixture, we're going to actually add the pectin, and this is a thickening agent, and usually it's used with jams and jellies, and like I said, I am just trying this. So there we go, the 1 tablespoon, and the envelope that it comes in unfortunately does not stand up, and I actually have a binder clip up, spilled some out, and so I just fold back over the edge and put the binder clip and then put it back in the refrigerator, and it'll keep in there. So if you're doing different types of recipes that require this, you get 2 envelopes in the package at the grocery store, so give it a try. So I am now incorporating the pectin and the gelatin that was in the little bit of cocktail sauce, and I mean, the gelatin is really bloomed. Let me check the cranberry juice now and see if it's up to a boil. So the cranberry juice came to a boil, and we're actually going to add in the pectin gelatin mix to it and dissolve it the rest of the way in there. Let's see if I can scrape out all of that with the whisk. And we're going to make sure that it dissolves really well, and what I'm going to do is actually pour some back in here because it's so hot, and just have it release from the sides of the measuring cup. There we go, that pretty much got all of it. I'm going to incorporate that really well. So now I have a jelly jar, a mason jelly jar. I tried to make some grape Kool-Aid. I tried to make some grape jelly with grape Kool-Aid, and unfortunately it tasted just like grape Kool-Aid and not grape jelly. So I'm gonna order some grape flavoring, Concord grape flavoring from 1 on 1, and there's a little left over, but we're going to put this in the refrigerator now and let it cool down and use it as cranberry sauce. Now I'm hoping that between the gelatin and the pectin, it won't quite be like Jello. It'll be more like a little bit of a jam, but as long as it tastes like cranberry sauce, I really don't care. So we'll be right back here after I put this in the refrigerator to talk about the cream of chicken soup. So we're back now with the cream of chicken soup that I have made, and I'm going to show you how to make that. So if you're familiar with a big can of cream of chicken soup that you would use in your chicken and dressing, I'm making a smaller chicken and dressing version for just a couple of us in the family, and then I'm making a regular chicken and dressing for everybody else. But this recipe started out with 1 cup of chicken stock, and I reduced it down probably to a tablespoon to really intensify the flavor. Then I added in 1/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, 1/2 cup of sour cream, and 1/4 of a stick of butter, and I got the butter melted and all that going. And then I added in 1 more cup of chicken stock. And then I reduced it down to what you can see, which this probably is about 1/2 cup now. So about 8 ounces are left. And then I put 1/8 of a cup of xanthan gum in there to just kind of thicken it up. Now I'm going to taste it. And it's pretty dang close to a can of cream of chicken soup. The only thing is you do get a little bit of the sourness from the sour cream, but to me that tastes good. So that's how you make keto cream of chicken soup. I will have the macros at the end of the video, also down in the description. So when we come back, we're actually going to start preparing to make our dressing. So the first thing you need to do is cook your cornbread. The second thing you need to do is go ahead and stew down a whole chicken. And in this case, they had already cut up chickens on sale, so I just bought a cut up chicken, and it did include the gizzard, the heart, and the liver. I do not make giblet or giblet gravy, however you want to call it. I've never liked it. Nobody in my family cares for it. But if you would like to make giblet or giblet gravy, you can go for it. I would suggest that you use the chicken stock, add a little bit of xanthan gum, and thicken it up. You can still cut up a hard-boiled egg into it and then have all your little pieces of chicken organ in there. Just not for me. So down here in the pot, you can see I've already stewed the chicken. And what I used to actually make my stock with was some water. And it was just enough to cover the chicken with the skin. 2 stalks of celery, 3 to 4 leaves of bay leaf, salt, pepper, and a small, very small onion, probably about 3.5 inches in diameter, cut in half, because I didn't want to get a whole bunch of carbs from the onion. So we did that. We stewed it down. I actually have it on an eye over here. I'm reducing this down now to intensify the chicken flavor, so when I have to actually add some liquid to the dressing, it has a lot more flavor. So I'm going to put that back on the stove, and then we're going to talk about the celery and onions. So in the bowl down here, you can see I have 1 stalk of celery and a half of about a 3 to 3.5 inch diameter onion I've chopped up. And what I'm going to do is add about 2 tablespoons of butter to this, some salt and some pepper, and where did I put the pepper? The pepper, and then I'm going to actually, let me move that back, take a piece of plastic wrap and cover the bowl and seal it. And we're going to put it into the, and then we're going to put it in the microwave for about 3 minutes on high. And what this does, learned this trick from my mother-in-law, it softens up the vegetables. You do not actually caramelize the onions and pull the sugar out to get that sweetness, and you don't actually have to take the time to sit over there and saute them on the stove. So you make sure that your plastic wrap is on there real tight. You can actually place a saucer over this, or you could do this in a small casserole dish any way you want to, but you do want it covered because the moisture in the vegetables will steam them. So I'm going to put this in the microwave, and then we're going to talk about the chicken. So we're back with the chicken down here on this platter, and it is cooling. I showed y'all the chicken stock, so I've taken it out, and now I'm going to actually debone the chicken, and then we're going to start assembling the cornbread. So we'll be right back. So we're back. I have deboned the chicken, burnt my fingers a couple of times. One of the things that I can remember is growing up was when my mother was actually making chicken and dressing, or some kind of chicken casserole, or chicken and dumplings with stewed chicken, of actually being in the kitchen and getting the helper. So every time I do this, it brings back fond memories of growing up on King Drive in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, deboning chicken. So we have our deboned chicken down here, and what we're going to do is slide that to the side, and I have a very large mixing bowl here, and we're going to go ahead and start assembling our dressing. So we're now going to assemble the actual chicken and dressing itself. So I'm going to go over what all is in it. I have the recipe over here written down, and I actually have 2 pounds of cornbread, and you can see I've actually tasted both of them. That was from the turnip green and cornbread recipe. I have a piece of cornbread left for my turnip greens for later. We're going to actually put both of those into the bowl. Whoops. Let's make some music with the bowl. And I have a pastry cutter that I usually just roughly chop this up with, but right now the cornbread has cooled, and I'm just going to kind of break it up into chunks. And it doesn't, you have to remember when you start mixing this, it's going to fall apart. So into rough chunks there. Then this is the onions and bell pepper that I did with the salt and the pepper and the butter in the microwave. I microwaved it for 2 minutes, and it's 1 stalk of celery and 1/2 of a small onion diced up. So we'll put that in there. Then we have our concentrated chicken, cream of chicken that I made, and I'm going to add that into there. They see your hand. Jace is in here stealing chicken out of my chicken pile. So we have the cream of chicken. Then I'm going to break 2 eggs into this. And then we're going to take about 1/2 of the chicken and just put over in there. I'm trying to get a mixture of dark and white meat. I'm going to make a regular chicken and dressing here in just a little bit. So we have that over there, and let me wash my hands real quick. So now we're going to go ahead and add in a little chicken stock that I reduced back here on the stove. So what the stock that was left, I actually probably reduced it by 2/3, so it's down to 1/3. The flavor's really intensified. I'm going to get a cup of it, and we're just going to add a little bit at a time. I don't want it to get too mushy at this point. So actually, with the celery and stuff left in there, I have about 1/2 cup, and I'm just going to pour that in there. And we're going to take the spatula here and start just mixing this together. And it depends on how you like your chicken and dressing. You can break it up more than I did. I still like a little bit of the dark brown crust showing through. So at this point, I'm going to say that we probably need to add about 1/2 cup more of the chicken stock, maybe a little bit more, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little salt, and we're going to taste this in a minute, and the pepper, and this is just to taste, and I always taste it before I bake it, even though it's got raw eggs in it. You shouldn't do that. I do. And then we have our rubbed sage. I actually bought this today. I always buy a brand new container of sage when we start cooking chicken and dressing. I like a lot of sage. Some people don't like no sage. It's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how much to use. As you can see, I probably put 1/3 of the container in there. And I just like it. Oh, and we're going to get some more stock now to mix it up. So I have about 1/2 cup of stock I'm going to add to this, and we're going to stir that in and see how that is. And like I said, I like mine a little drier than most people do, almost like cornbread chicken, but we're going to have to go with just a little bit more because so I've got a whole, almost another cup. I'm going to put part of that. And that right there may do it. So that was about 1.5 cups of stock. And that is about the right consistency. There's hunks of chicken in there. So I'm going to slide that out of the way. And I actually have a 1/4 baking pan right here. And I have some spray olive oil. And I'm just going to lightly coat my pan, and we're going to put the mixture in here and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 35-40 minutes till it sets. Let the egg cook through and there's a nice brown crust on top. So we'll go ahead and add the mixture into the pan. And I'm really impressed by just how it even looks, because it looks like chicken and dressing that hasn't been baked yet. So just going to kind of even that out. And so we're going to go over here to the oven, put it in, set a timer, and when we come back, I'll have this out, and hopefully the cranberry sauce will be ready, and we can do a taste test. Welcome back. We have pulled the dressing out of the oven and let it actually cool down some, and the cranberry sauce has actually solidified, congealed, whatever you want to say. I have already tasted it. It tastes pretty much like cranberry jello. It's not really like cranberry sauce. So I'm going to work on that recipe probably in a week or so, and actually get it more of a deep, rich cranberry flavor. But as you can see, it would make, if you really like cranberries, it would make a very delicious gelatin dessert. I was hoping that the pectin would do just a little bit better job of making it more like a sauce and not like exactly jello, but it tastes really good, and I'm going to actually do a taste test with it on there and some by itself. So you can see the pan of dressing right here. It firmed up. The inside is moist, as you can see. I'm going to put some out on a plate now, and we're going to taste test it. So it really looks like, ooh, there's a piece of chicken. Really looks like chicken and dressing to me down there. I'm going to get me just a little bite of the sauce, and we're going to do a taste test with the sauce and a taste test without the sauce. So make sure we get some of the sauce, a little bit of the crust, a little bit of the chicken. And here we go with the taste test. It tastes very good. Now I'm going to taste it without any of the cranberry sauce. My word. I mean, if somebody was to just give you this at a restaurant, you would not know that this was made with almond flour. You would swear this was really southern chicken and really southern chicken cornbread dressing. Oh my gosh, it is delicious. You don't even need the cranberry sauce. I'll have one more bite. That screams Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner to me right there. Let me get a napkin. Man, that was good. So if you try this chicken and cornbread dressing recipe, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down right down here below the video. And if you will, leave me comments of what you thought. It really is one of the best keto recipes I've done. If you haven't subscribe to my channel, and if you have subscribed, hit that little bell right down there so you know exactly when my new videos come out. And as always, I will accept any Southern dish challenge that you may have, so just post it down in the description down there and I will see them, and we'll do my best to come up with a great keto alternative to a Southern classic dish. And always, I will have links down in the description below of any special products that I use that I purchased offline, so you know where to get them. The macros, the recipe, the instructions and macros will be down in the link, as well as at the end of this video. Thank y'all for coming to my kitchen, and have a great day.